3-game series became a 2-game series thanks to Mother Nature, but the Mets won the first 2 games, so can we count this as a series sweep? I believe my co-host will want to count it as a sweep as he predicted a Mets sweep in our last episode. Welcome to the Queen's Connection, episode number 11, a production of Patton Sports Creative. I am your host, Andrew Patton. I have already mentioned our co-host is Corne who is patting himself on the back as we speak for his quote-unquote series sweep prediction. So, Mr. Hogeveen, congratulations, I guess. You are once again correct.
Well, half correct. We still have one game to play, but obviously that's way too tough to predict for a game that's gonna happen in early August, August the 5th, I remember correctly.
That's correct.
So I think for the prediction, I'll take it.
Naturally, you will. You should take it because it's very rare do I pump your tires like that. So when I do, you should just take it and run with it. But
true, very true. Yeah.
Compliments are compliments are like vegetables to me. I don't eat a lot of vegetables and I don't give a lot of compliments.
Yeah, and I know how hard it is for you to give compliments. So one, I'll take it. Two, so far this new podcast you're having a terrible time with all the compliments you have to give me.
I know. I think we're going to have to. Maybe I'll have to say something that'll get us canceled, so that I'll never have to say a nice thing to you ever again. I can do that.
You can, you certainly can.
Yes. So just play
No
your
doubt
cards
about
correctly. Man. Well, the Mets played their cards correctly in St. Louis. So we'll hop right into the first game of this series. The Mets were coming off a sweep of the Tampa Bay Rays, after getting swept by the Tampa Bay Rays. I should probably rephrase that. So they were a little bit down on their luck, I would say, coming into this game against the Cardinals on Monday night. And a good start was needed, and that's exactly what they did. Just like in Tampa Bay, the Mets struck early in the first inning with a DJ Stewart RBI double. DJ Stewart playing first base in this game, we should mention, as Pete Alonso had a half day off. He eventually entered the game later. And that would be the way it would be until the fifth. Back-to-back singles by Nito and Nimmo. That's a little bit of a mouthful, Nito and Nimmo. Those NIs, no, they can get to you. The Mets would take a 2-0 lead on the Marte RBI ground out. The next batter, Francisco Lindor, drove in Brandon Nimmo with a sac fly. So the Mets had a 3-0 lead, and Sean Manaea looked pretty good in this game. Until the sixth inning, he ran into some trouble. The Cardinals got on the board, just 2 batters in, back-to-back hits. Wilson Contreras RBI double, so the Mets are up 3-1. St. Louis would eventually tie on a 2-run double by Ivan Herrera, but they got out of the inning because Herrera was thrown out trying to advance to third base. So we headed to the 7th inning, tied at 3 apiece. And who else but Brandon Nimmo goes yard to put the Mets back in front 4-3. Jake Diekman, Adam Ottavino, Edwin Diaz each worked a scoreless frame to seal the win for the Mets. So the Mets get that bad taste out of Tampa Bay for some sweet nectar in St. Louis. The Mets win 4-3. Let's just talk about Brandon Nimmo before Sean Manaea, because it's very rare, I would say, that a leadoff hitter is, maybe perhaps the best clutch hitter. But this year and even last year at times, we saw Nimmo in big spots come through for the Mets. And I mean, he's leading the team in RBIs, if my memory serves me correctly, which is also rare for a leadoff hitter. But you could also say it also shows what good production the Mets have gotten from the latter half of their batting order. We know Nimmo got off to that slow start, but has really picked it up from there. What do you think about where Nimmo's game is at right now?
Love, 2 out RBIs from him, also in spots where his teammates don't get the job done, and he does get the job done with 2 outs, and some big home runs to tie games, to give the Mets the lead. So extremely clutch. I think it's worth, and I think that's a question more for you. You're the Nimmo guy for our two. I can say that. It's not that I dislike Brandon Nimmo, but you're probably the bigger fan. Is it time to move Nimmo out of the leadoff spot and move him to a more, um, RBI spot? So the second or maybe even third in the lineup.
Obviously, that's a question that was talked about back in spring training with Nimmo, uh, having all the power surge last year. Um, but a lot of people said they like him in the leadoff spot, and I do as well. I mean, if you were going to move him down, I think the number three spot would be the place to put him, personally. Um, I mean, I don't know who you would put in the leadoff spot. Uh, Other than that, but I mean, if you want to put Lindor there, maybe. Um, usually, we've seen McNeil lead off in the past, but with the way he's going right now, I don't know if that's a guy you want to lead off games. You could theoretically put Marte there as well with his speed, but I don't know. I think if the Mets had, I mean, because I mean, Lindor's really picked it up of late, but I don't know if you want to like now kind of move him, mess him around the lineup. I don't know if you want to do that. I mean, I'm perfectly fine with Nimmo in the leadoff spot for right now. I think, if we get into like June or whatever, and it's still kind of the same thing with the lineup where, Nimmo's the guy almost. Maybe you want to put him in our more RBI spots, but I just don't think there's really anyone right now where you can say it's an easy swap between him and Nimmo for the trade off at the leadoff spot. What do you think?
I think it's tough. For at one side, we have seen Nemo's ability to walk, and that's for me still the main plus for a leadoff hitter. I don't necessarily care if a leadoff hitter steals bases or whatnot. So for me, it's the on base percentage, and that's still extremely high. So for that reason, I would put him there. I also think Lindor would be a good leadoff guy. Uh, if you uh, if you make that switch, I wouldn't be mad about it. But for right now, why switch it up for something that's clearly working for Brandon Nimmo and Lindor, like you mentioned, has been putting up good at bats since early in the year. So um, right now, I wouldn't do it, but it's definitely something that will stay in the back of my mind. Let me put it that way. For how the year will turn out or how the year will progress. For maybe if you need a spark or a difference in your lineup because you're struggling offensively, I wouldn't be against trying Brandon Nimmo in a uh, more RBI, getting more RBI spots.
I think also too, for potential leadoff guy. I mean, while you were talking, DJ Stewart came to mind for me. We've seen him; he's got like an elite chase rate this year. Like he's basically swings at nothing out of the strike zone. He's got, we say he's like the Mets version of Kyle Schwarber. Kyle Schwarber leads off for the Phillies, but Kyle Schwarber tends to play every day, while the Mets are trying to find no room for Tyrone Taylor to play and Harrison Bader. I mean, no, that's a whole thing. If we want to get into that later, we can. But like, there's just a lot of guys with not a lot of spots, and so Stewart's I don't think would be in the lineup constantly. I feel like if you're gonna pencil a guy into the leadoff spot, it's a guy who's gonna play every day, and we know Stewart, especially against left-handers, is not going to be in the lineup that day. So that was the thought that came to
Yeah.
mind. So maybe it's
I
potentially something that they could do if Stewart's going to be in the lineup that day, and they want to do that, and they'll just swap him out for Tyrone Taylor later in the game if the lefty comes in. So I mean, I guess that's a possibility.
uh, Stewart crossed my mind too, but I didn't mention him exactly for the same reason you did. Um, he is not an everyday player, and I think the top of the order you should at least try to um, make it as uh, everyday as possible. And right, yeah, with DJ Stewart, who knows? Maybe in June we are talking about DJ Stewart being an everyday player, and then he's definitely on the list for me to lead off because he has a crazy walk rate so far, and if he keeps that up, he's definitely an option. But right now, I wouldn't.
No, I don't think at this stage right now, uh, that's that's the move to make for the Mets. But let's talk about Sean Manaea here. Obviously, he's had some uh, rough, shaky outings, whatever word you want to use to describe it. But I thought he threw the ball really well in this game. He ends the day 6 innings, 6 hits, 3 runs, all earned. One walk, one strikeout. So didn't walk any or hardly any batters. So that's a big plus for me. Obviously, didn't generate a whole lot of strikeouts, swing and miss. But he got outs, and that's what you need to do as a pitcher is just get outs any way you can. I thought he mixed his pitches well. I thought he was kind of uh, moving the ball around the plate, which is always good. Mixed locations. What did you think from Sean Manaea in this outing?
I said in the chat after the game, I think Manaya threw the ball as well. Maybe only besides his first outing of the year, I think this was the best I've seen Sean Manaya pitch. And I don't care if it's 3 runs, 6 innings. If you look at the box score, you think, well, it's definitely not the best we have seen from Sean Manaya, but he threw strikes, and for me, as I mentioned in our last episode, if he throws strikes, he is pretty tough to hit. Got a lot of fly balls. I heard Booth talking about that he has always had a tendency to have a high fly ball rate, and I think it's logical with how his fastball works. With at the top of the zone and his extension, it gets to hitters quicker, so they are a little late and get a little bit under it. And I think we saw that exact case in Shamanaya on Monday. So um, hitters weren't able to square up his fastball, and I don't care if he struck out one. Um, he got the outs like you mentioned, and until the sixth inning, he allowed the 3 runs or two after three. I don't remember that, but he was really good. So I'm really pleased with Shamanaya's outing from Monday.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. The 3 runs came in his last inning of work. So he had shut down the Cardinals through five, and it was not until the latter half of his outing that they started to generate some harder hit balls and stuff like that. So, but I agree. I thought Manaea threw the ball very well in this game, and if he can do that for a nice little stretch here, that's definitely a big boost for the Mets rotation. Let's go to Tuesday night. Mets battled the Cardinals yet again, and we talk about the Mets for the last couple of games getting out to a nice early lead. Well, the Cardinals did that against Jose Butto, jumped out to an early 3-0 lead. It was a Donovan leadoff home run, Arenado sac fly, and a Burleson RBI single. So the Mets were in the hole early, and the score would remain that way until the fifth inning. And who else but Brandon Nimmo to tie the game with a 3-run homer? New York would take the lead a few batters later on a 2-run double from Pete Alonso, which was very good to see from Pete driving the ball. JD Martinez joined the fun. He got a run scoring single. So the Mets had a 6-3 lead just like that over the Cardinals. The Cardinals would get a run back into six on the Burleson solo home run. So New York had a 6-4 lead going to the ninth. Pete Alonso went deep for a solo shot. So the Mets are up 7-4 heading to the ninth inning, where Adam Ottavino would come in to try to get the save as Edwin Diaz was unavailable. And the Cardinals did make it interesting. Nootbaar hit a solo shot to cut the Mets lead to 7-5. The next two batters would reach base, so the winning run was at the plate. Paul Goldschmidt struck out against Ottavino. So did Alec Burleson to end the game. So the Mets get a 7-5 victory over the St. Louis Cardinals. Pete Alonso was 2 for 5 in this game, 2 RBIs, the home run, scored twice. And obviously, Pete sat the day before, well, sat half the day before coming in later in the game. But obviously, he was struggling very much so. So to see him get those 2 extra base hits, including and one of them being a home run, actually, I should say he had a 3 RBIs. Excuse me, that's a typo. Um, just a big day for Pete overall. Something the Mets I think really needed to see from him because when he is a force in that cleanup spot, it makes it easier on the lineup, especially the guys sitting in front of him that might get to see more pitches to hit. So, uh, can't say fully Alonso's out of his slump, whatever. But definitely some positive signs from him in this game.
Yeah, driving a ball for Pete is very important. We saw, I think he also had a line drive out in the game to center field, so he hit the ball hard 3 times. It's huge. When Pete goes, the Met goes, and Pete has gone through slumps in his major league career. He's a hitter that gets hot and cold, and he gets ice cold and he gets red hot. So let's hope that after the day off, actually they have day off, but not in the starting lineup on Monday. Maybe sparked a little pluck for Pete Alonso. I hope so, um, because that was the Pete Alonso we loved. We saw on Tuesday driving the ball. That home run was out in a hurry. It's like those Pete Alonso's line drive outs that doesn't even reach crazy heights, but it just stays true all the way over the wall. Just yeah, I just hope that this is the start of a Pete Alonso red hot streak because we're gonna need it in the next week.
Yeah, figuring who the Mets are going to be playing. Uh, if Lonzo gets hot now, that's the perfect time to get hot. Jose Buto got the start in this game. 5 innings, 5 hits, 3 runs, all earned, and they just came in the first inning. 3 walks, 3 strikeouts, a lot of fives and threes on his stat line here. We've seen this with Buto a little bit of late. Maybe that first inning, he's still trying to get settled in. Sometimes the opposition's able to scratch out a couple runs against him. Sometimes he's able to shut the door like he did against the Cubs. But overall, Jose Buto, what'd you take away from this, positives and negatives?
I thought he was off. His main pitches weren't good. I thought the slider he hung it at times. It was very inconsistent. The changeup, which from the minor leagues was the pitch. When I watched him in the minor leagues, it was changeup. I think his slider has at least equaled the performance with his changeup, but his changeup still very good. But his changeup was or middle or high in the zone, or it was in the dirt. I think later on in the outing, his changeup was better, but overall, I think it was also an inconsistent pitch. Well, slider was inconsistent. He missed his fastball. He missed early on. He missed arm side, and it didn't miss by much, but it missed. So he got into trouble with that. So all in all, I think he was just off. And if you are off and you can go 5 innings of 3-run ball after allowing 3 runs in the first, I think you did a tremendous job. And um, another outing where strike rate was very, very low, but still got quality. This guy doesn't give in, even if you look at him and he's iffy. This year, I think we have seen now maybe 3 starts where you you think, it could be an ugly game for Jose Buto, and he still turns out to have an effective start, and he got a win, which for him is just his second win in his major league career with those numbers. He should have had a little bit more, so I was very happy that the Mets were able to score big for him against Mike Michaelis, by the way, who the Mets didn't really hit last time, who isn't necessarily having a good year, is pretty hittable for major league starter. So it was good to see that finally the Mets were able to tee off on him in that inning with 6 straight hits. The Nimmo home run, Marte double that almost got out. So um, that that was it was a sweet win to see Buto struggling but still getting a win.
Yeah, and obviously, next day was rained out. So, like we mentioned at the top, we're going to call this a 2 game sweep for the New York Mets, which was much needed after getting swept in Tampa Bay. Um, so, obviously, good signs from this series for the Mets. Hopefully, some positives to carry over to this weekend series with the Atlanta Braves. I'm going to throw a little bit of a curveball at you here because a big topic um, from this series uh, is catcher's interference. They did a whole big segment on SNY. I'm not sure if they were able to, if they showed it in your neck of the woods, because I know you're watching MLB TV rather than the actual SNY channel. But it was Gary Cohen, Todd Zeal. They were talking about it. If there's any solutions down the line, whatever, blah blah blah. And obviously, we're in a day and age where batters are really pushing the limits when it comes to being in the batter's box, and catchers are lined up super close to the plate. So obviously it's a recipe for disaster. And we saw what happened with Wilson Contreras. He fractured his arm on a JD Martinez swing. So he's going to be out for a while for St. Louis. And obviously questions are being raised. What's the possible solution? How can the Major League Baseball fix this? Whatever, blah blah blah. I mean, it's hard to kind of maybe I mean, I'm sure there's a way you can dictate, where a batter can line up in the box or where a catcher should line up, behind the plate. But no, obviously there's not going to be a solution this year. So it's a matter of how can, they limit stuff like that from happening, having guys getting their arms fractured or a hand or any body part behind the plate for the catcher. I mean, what do you think about this uptick in catcher's interference? Is there a possible solution for it? And if so, what is it? Or is this something that we might just have to live with?
This, I think one thing that's to me is odd that baseball is pretty careful with pitchers, and right now it's odd that all the catchers probably still do the same thing, even though catcher's interference has spiked. I saw its crazy stat. I saw a clip from John Boy media showing that where Contreras set up with the Cubs and where he now sets up with the Cardinals, it was a major difference. He was way closer to the batter, and we see it with the Mets a couple of times that um, they got hit. So it's probably where they're sitting. Maybe hitters swing later because they're late on a fastball. I don't know, but I think part of the reason is definitely that the catchers are sitting closer to the hitters, and I think it's because of framing. I don't know. I think they want to steal strikes that way. So um, yeah, uh, I think it's what teams decide what's more important right now. If it's stealing the strikes, which is important in a game, I think we can both agree that framing pitches um, could benefit you a lot in a game. So um, it's not like there. Okay, it's now with Contreras, but I think overall the injuries on catching interference isn't necessarily too bad. But that's just off the top of my head what I think. So right now it's more of a topic because you have a elite catcher getting hurt this way. But yeah, yeah, you definitely threw a curveball at me because I don't really know what the answer is in this.
Well, I threw a curveball at you. You just still gotta. I'll say that's a double. You hit solidly into the gap with your answer there. So we'll say that's a solid double.
And anyway, I don't know what's happening. Are your ice hockey team playing well? Because all the compliments I get today, it's making me worried.
Well, maybe I just started drinking a little bit early. Who knows?
Yeah. That will be it. You never drink.
It's, it's not entirely true. I do have to say for one of those hockey games in the last series, uh, there was some alcohol flowing, and there potentially might be some tonight. So who knows?
Really?
Yes.
Oh, you didn't even tell me.
No. Pink
I think
Whitney.
I
Pink
think.
Whitney is the drink of choice there, folks.
Ooh,
Pink Whitney. It's pink lemonade
it
flavored
sounds.
vodka.
I don't know. I don't. I think I shouldn't say what I had in my mind.
You think it's a fruity drink?
It's a bit of a fruity drink. It's
No.
not what real men drink.
New Amsterdam vodka. They make it.
Hmm?
New Amsterdam vodka. That's the one who they make it.
Kettle One, right? Or isn't that vodka?
I don't know. Let's see. Now you're going over my head. You should just be happy there's something alcoholic that I drink
Yeah,
on
definitely. We're gonna
occasion.
do that.
I don't down a bottle of it, but on occasion I'll.
We're definitely gonna do that when we see each other next time. Yeah, that's. And next time you need to drink a real man's drink. So we're getting some whiskey for you.
Oh, maybe. Don't push your
No,
limits.
yeah.
Don't push it too much. All right. You should just be happy
Last
I'm
year,
getting this.
last year you disappointed me too in this part.
I
So
disappoint a lot of people. So,
I know.
oh, well, you know who didn't disappoint? Some guys in the Mets minor league system. And I know you
Sure.
were very active with that. This has just become your segment now. You know, I tried to get involved and whatnot, but I mean, you come to each show with War and Peace written out about the Mets minor leagues. So I just deferred this to you now, and I know you've been very active on the Twitter X, whatever people want to call it, about getting
You
having
should
guys
you
get
should
recognized. So
you should make a jingle with
our budget is very low, like
maybe you can do it
$0.
yourself.
If
You
there's anyone
probably
listening that does production, why don't you make something up and you can send it our way? Email
yeah,
patentsportscreative@gmail.com.
that's a great idea.
So
Let's
don't get
yeah
your hopes up
yeah
though. I have doubts.
yeah I do too, but it's okay. I appreciate the try. Huh?
Well, just doing a lot for you
So,
today.
yeah. So, shall I get into it then?
Why don't you go right forward there? I'll just sit back and relax. Maybe I'll get a pink Whitney.
All right, yeah, good idea. Saint Lucie, Saint Lucie Mets, Jesus Baez. Remember the name? You liked Javi Baez a lot, so you all probably still have a Javi Baez shirt or jersey in your closet.
I
So
do.
keep it, yeah, keep it
Hopefully he'll wear
because
23. Oh no, that's David Peterson's number. Hopefully, no, that can't be the case then, because that means Peterson's gone. We like David Peterson.
we like David Peterson, but Jesus Baez is still 19 years old, so
We got a
that's
while,
yeah. We don't know what
maybe.
happens with David Peterson until that point. But Wednesday had a 3 for 4 day. The Mets rave about his exit velocity ability. He's just 90 years old, as I said. He has a 10-game hitting streak going for St. Lucie, so that's pretty exciting. David Peterson, funny that he's right below in my notes. Didn't even notice that when you talked about David Peterson. But not a great rehab outing. 3 and 2/3 scoreless innings, allowing 1 hit, 1 walk with 7 strikeouts. Um, Go ahead if you want to say something about David Peterson.
David Peterson, when he comes back, will be a huge addition for the Mets rotation.
I
I won't say
100%
I won't say he's going to be the guy, but you know, when he's on, he's very good, as we've seen.
yes. I totally agree. I think he's gonna be maybe he's gonna have kind of like a breakout because he made some changes. I thought I saw some people on Twitter or X notice it, and he's been money so far in the minor leagues. We have to say, but even after his bad start last year, he pitched pretty well, and in 2022 he also pitched pretty well. It's not like he hasn't had any major league success. Moving on. Yesterday, Kate Morris talked about him on earlier podcasts with an up and down outing. He allowed 5 runs over 5 innings and he allowed 3 home runs, but did strike out 9. And some more offensive performances. Marco Vargas, who we got in the David Robertson trade, um, has a 500 on base percentage so far this year. Hasn't hit for a lot of power, but with his on base percentage, his OPS is still fairly high at 813. He walked 3 times in a 1 for 2 day yesterday, so that's very good. Should I move on, or do you have something to say about St. Lucie names I mentioned?
Well, I think Marco Vargas is obviously a guy to keep an eye on. Obviously, you know, we a lot of criticism around him last year when the Mets traded Robertson. I think a lot of people were expecting more upper level prospects, and the Mets went in a different direction with him and Ronald Hernandez, guys who are still developing their game, but very young players. Um, and Vargas, I think that was kind of the book on him, was hopefully they think he could develop more power into his game, but has a really good eye at the plate. And he's obviously demonstrating that in St. Lucie. So good to see with Marco Vargas. You know, it's kind of living up to expectations, I would say, from what we've heard last year. So obviously, if he develops more power, that's just even better for the Mets.
Yeah, and St. Lucie is also pretty tough ballpark to hit homers in during the summer. I know that. So elite walk rate for such a young guy is good, and like you mentioned, hopefully he will hit into some more power when he develops. Moving on with the Brooklyn Cyclones, a guy I really like. I mentioned him before as well. But yeah, with every episode, some minor league stuff, we are getting some names that have been mentioned before, unfortunately. But Felipe de la Cruz, good curveball, fastball curveball combo from the left side pitch as well. 5 scoreless innings, allowing just 3 hits, 1 walk. The 1 walk is noteworthy for him because he does tend to have some control issues. He struck out 8, lowered his ERA to 2.36. Nolan McLean does it with the bat now. He's starting tonight for anyone who is interested in watching the Brooklyn Cyclones. He's the night starter, so that's always fun. Um, he was 2 for 4 on Tuesday and hit another double and home run on Wednesday, so he's hitting the ball hard. Nick Morabito and Christopher Suero made their Cyclones debut. They were promoted from St. Lucie after a strong start there. And I got to watch Jonah Tong on Wednesday. He finally allowed an earned run. His control was a little bit off. Um, uh, yeah, the curve still for real. 12-6 high spin rate curve. I think I mentioned it last time I talked about Jonah Tong, but reminds me a little bit of the Seth Lugo curve, the big breaker. Um, Ended up with 4 innings, allowed 2 runs, 1 earned on 3 hits. But the 4 walks needed 86 pitches to get through 4. So yeah, the walks were a big issue last year in St. Lucie. This year he kept his walk rate down, but this outing his control was a little bit more off. Also, probably some tougher opponents, so have to adjust to that. And I also saw a little bit of Brendan Sprout yesterday, touched 98 and 99, which was, according to the radio broadcast from the Cyclones, was the hardest he has thrown so far. Um, Went to 5 and 2/3 innings of 1 run ball. The run scored after he left. He tied a career high with 8 strikeouts. He did walk 3, but it was all after the first 4 innings. He walked 2 in the sixth. One of those walks came around to score. So maybe a little bit, out of gas at the end because he threw 90 pitches. So that was a season high for Brandon Sprout. Anything to comment about Brooklyn names?
Well, it was interesting when you were talking about Jonah Tong because I believe, if I saw correctly, your buddy Ernest, who does a good job covering the minor leagues last night, he kind of was making a point that we had made early in this series of Queen's Connection episodes about the prospect system, being a little uh, maybe discombobulated when it comes to rankings. And he was talking about there's a lot of guys. He mentioned Jonah Tong as one of them who are either not listed in the top 30 in the organization or very low in the top 30 rankings that should be a lot higher. And Jonah Tong was a name that he had mentioned. And we know how well he pitched in St. Lucie. Maybe a little, I don't want to say jittery, or, maybe a little nerves moving up. No, it's a different level of competition, so that also was a factor as well. Um, but Jonah Tong, well, obviously, I mean, how many more times can we sing his praises on this podcast? It's just an arm that has some really good stuff coming out of it, and if he can work on his control maybe in St. Or Brooklyn, hopefully the 4 walks is just an anomaly, and he gets back to being the Jonah Tong that was dominating the Florida State League.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, I totally agree. I missed that tweet from Ernest, but I totally agree. And it's not like this performance is coming out of the blue for Jonathan. If you look at the overall numbers last year, they weren't good because of the walks, but his strikeout rate was so good that you knew that this guy has stuff to get hitters out, and yeah, to just refining and improving your control. So good to see that this year it gets to fruition a little bit more, and hopefully he rebounds in his next start. Moving on to Binghamton, I have to also mention something that concerns me a bit. It's another bad week for Kevin Parada. He had another 0 for 5 day with 4 strikeouts on Tuesday. Still just batting 171 with a 554 on base per slugging. So after an iffy year with Binghamton last year, you hoped that Parada would bounce back, and so far he hasn't really performed, unfortunately. Um, Joander Suarez did it again for Binghamton. Seems like another guy who is maybe a little bit under the radar slash forgotten, but he's dominating in Double A. So 6 innings of 1 run ball. His ERA is now down to 2.41. And finally, a name I can mention, JT Schwartz, who you know I like. I haven't even mentioned him so far. 2 for 4 with a walk on Wednesday. And was one thing that was noticeable for him. He made his organizational debut at third last week. So we know him as a first baseman. We saw him in spring training a couple of times. Like his bat to ball skills and his on base percentage skills. So good for him that he's getting some reps at different positions because I think his overall ceiling as a first baseman isn't an everyday guy. So maybe him moving around, getting some playing time in other positions, offers his chances to make it to a major league ball club. I doubt that it's maybe not with the Mets, but maybe somewhere else. Tyler Stewart had a strong start, faced a lineup with 3 top Red Sox prospects and went 5 and 2/3 of 1 run ball. He's been up and down a little bit this year, so good start, then a bad start. He had that 12 strikeout game earlier, but also had some mediocre outings in between. And your boy Wilkin Ramos extended his scoreless streak to 12 1/3 with a save. He allowed 2 hits but struck out 2 and walked none, which is always a very positive note for Wilkin Ramos.
Well, you know how I feel about walks with pitchers. It can be aggravating at times. Um, as I've voiced my frustration with the major league level about that. So, Wilkin Ramos, we mentioned it, saw him get a couple big league outings in spring training. You can see the stuff is there. He's pitched very well for Binghamton. I believe Rylan Thomas also had a big game at some up in Portland as well, which is always good to see. We talked about Rylan on previous episodes here. But yeah, the Parada thing is very disappointing. Hopefully, you can just chalk it up to just still kind of working on some things or something. But we had mentioned, he was a little bit of an older prospect. So I believe this is the points you were making. A little bit of an older prospect. You wonder how long the clock is ticking for him. So hopefully he can pick it up. And you wrote an article too that's on our Facebook page. Go check out our Facebook page, the Queens Connection. Just search that; it should pop right up. About the top hitting prospects in the Mets organization this year, not really doing a solid job this year. And I'm sure Parada was mentioned in that article as well.
Yes, Parada was there. Marco Vargas was there, but he responded immediately with a great day to
And he
get his
said
numbers
he
leveled
said, "Screw
up.
you. What do you know?"
I, if that's the case for Kevin Parada, he says, "Screw me, what do you know?" And I'm gonna hit. Hey, all good. Then I'm gonna write some negative articles a little bit more often if that helps. I
Just
don't
got
mind that.
you gotta get the clicks. Negativity gets clicks nowadays.
That's true, but yeah, it's. I mean, and we're joking about it, but it is noticeable that the Mets pitching prospects have been tremendous, and the hitting prospects are a little bit, let's say, iffy so far, especially in the top 10. I think Cunha, Jess Williams, Gilbert. Although Williams and Gilbert, small sample size, but Cunha hasn't really performed. Parada, um, no, I had Vargas in there, but I miss a couple in my head right now who, oh well, just read the article, then
Hey, go
you
read the
will.
article, people.
Yes,
Jeez, don't make us do all the work.
uh,
Yeah,
exactly. Moving on to Syracuse, 18 runs scored on Tuesday. They scored 14 runs in the seventh, so that's even more than our first game together inning. where we said for one inning, we thought, well, let's stand on the Shea Bridge together and talk. And the Mets scored 10 runs that inning. So
In
that
the
was
rain.
in the rain. But still, it had to be, Andrew. It had to be. Um, Too many good performances to mention, but a good day in this Mets organizational debut for newly signed Mike Brousseau. He went 3 for 5. The name, pretty interesting name in my opinion.
Call them up when they play the
And
Yankees.
is he always good against the Yankees?
Yeah, it was
Or
in
I
the
didn't.
with the Rays in the playoffs, and he had that thing with
Oh,
Chapman too. So bring him up when they play the
that,
Pirates again.
sure.
So I
um,
like the hostility, between Brasso and the Yankees. So
well, yeah, we talked about ice hockey before this episode, so you sure do. Tyler McGill, also another strong rehab outing, 4 hitless innings, 1 walk, 7 Ks for Syracuse. So him and Peterson are putting up some good numbers in rehab. So some interesting decisions for the Mets coming up. And finally, we can say that Mike Vassell had a good start, 4 and 2/3 of 1 run ball. He lowered his ERA to 9.12, showing that it hasn't been an easy start for Mike Vassell, but hopefully this is a start of some better starts for Mike Vassell. And I'm gonna end because this is a quick one. We also have the Florida Coast League, I think they call the of
I,
Complex League,
yeah, I
one of the
believe you're
two.
yeah, I believe you're correct. The Florida Complex League, I believe. Yeah,
Well, top international signing Simon Wong enjoyed a career day on Tuesday against the Nationals. His 5 RBI and 6 total bases were all single game best. His top uh, exit velocities on the afternoon were 106, 106, and 104. Overall, so far, that the Florida Complex League has just started, but so far he has hit 385 with an 1152 OPS. So it's great to see that one of your top international signings is doing well so far.
oh, definitely, definitely. I remember Simon Wong when they signed him internationally. There was a lot of hype around him. I mean, there's been some hype around the international guys they signed of late. So obviously good to see. The Florida Complex League. Only if they could be part of the minor league baseball TV stream. I think
Nope.
I know
Can't
some
we?
people would probably like to watch that, but oh well.
Yeah, I would, but yeah, I can't. So I'm stuck with the other 4, which is fine too, by the way. I
Ah,
think it's
it's a tough life.
and one of the good things about MLB TV in recent years, besides the blackouts and all the negativity, is that yeah, well, it's true. It's the ability to watch minor league baseball. And I think that's a great addition to MLB TV.
I would agree 100%. So there's the Corne minor league minute. That's actually more like 20 minutes, but whatever. No, it's all right. We only had two major league games to talk about, so I kind of told you to bulk up on your
Yeah,
minor league report, and you did, obviously.
and now you're gonna throw me under the bus on live on the air. Oh, they were out live, but
No, we're not live. Good thing we're not live. So,
yeah,
oh, man. All right. Well, the major league level, the Mets welcome the Atlanta Braves to Citi Field for the first time this season. So great that we only get two visits from the Braves nowadays. I'm glad about that. So we can play the Oakland A's and teams we do not give a crap about. So that's so cool. That's all right with me. Uh, so the Mets will send Jose. Oh, were you gonna say something? You were gonna say something
yeah,
about my snarky comment.
yes. You can be snarky about the Oakland A's, but I am excited to see Mason Miller, and hopefully we get to him. But
Well,
that's
I think Mason Miller might be traded by then. Who knows?
yeah, would he?
They're
A lot of
I,
control still left. That
I heard I heard the asking price is super high for him, but the Oakland A's are probably gonna
obviously
they're probably gonna take
he's
a.
a young.
This is what the A's do now. They cash in on guys who are they have X amount of years left, but are super talented, and they try to move them and get prospects. And sometimes those prospects have hit, and sometimes they really haven't. So it's the way the A's operate right now until they move to Vegas, and obviously they'll open up the checkbook probably.
Yeah,
Oh,
maybe they should wait and keep this guy until they are in Vegas and have
yeah.
the money to keep this type of talent in their own. But that's an all different story. We are
That's a good point. That's a good point. It's also good that the A's haven't moved to Vegas yet, and or in the past couple of years, because then what would have happened with the Shohei Ohtani fiasco? Could you imagine that? Holy crap! Man. Well, back to Jose Quintana.
moving on.
Oh, go ahead. No, you're gonna say something. Oh,
I said moving on.
okay. I thought you were gonna say something a little bit more to that. Okay, that's fine. So Katana was supposed to start the last game of the series against the Cardinals, but Mother Nature had other ideas, so he's gonna be pushed back to Friday today. He's gonna go up against Charlie Morton. Katana 1-3 with a 5.20 ERA. Morton's 2-0, a 3.50 ERA. Saturday, it's going to be a big one. Christian Scott's City Field debut. It's just unfortunate that he's going to have to wear the City Connect uniforms. He's going up against Max Fried in that game. Scott has a record of 0-0, 1.35 ERA. Fried's 2-1 with a 4.23 ERA. And then Sunday Night Baseball. Thanks, ESPN. I love your broadcast so much. Luis Severino gets to start for the Mets against Bryce Elder. Severino 2-2, 2.93 ERA. Elder 1-1 with a 5.28 ERA. So we will turn things over to the series prediction expert about this weekend series with the Atlanta Braves. What are you thinking? Look into your crystal ball. What do you see?
Uh, I'm mostly pretty optimistic about series, but I'm going 1-2 in this time, unfortunately. And I hope I'm wrong, or maybe on Sunday we can hope I was right because we have to at least one game. But the Braves are just so good. Um, it's tough to win back-to-back series against them. So I'm going 1-2.
I think that's our first negative prediction from you. So,
I
like you
think
said,
we
you're
do.
usually an
Yeah.
optimist, but you're going in a different direction. Maybe
Yes.
maybe your negativity will, like with Marco Vargas. Marco Vargas kind of had a bit of a FU game to you. Maybe the Mets will have an FU series to you. Who knows?
Then I have to be more negative in predicting as well.
Well, then they'll put you on WFAN down in the city.
Sure, whatever helps. I'm not
Uh,
in a city anyway, so I don't care.
yeah, well, they can pay. They can pay. I'll tell you this though, working in radio, a lot of it is an act. A lot of guys,
Sure,
because they want to get people to listen. A lot of it's an act.
sure,
Sometimes
sure.
you say things that you don't actually believe just to get people fired up, call in, listen, whatever. So maybe that's what
Yeah.
we need to do.
No,
You can have like a good cop, bad cop thing. You can be the bad cop and be like, "Ugh, this Pete Alonso slump. He's never coming out of it. Trade him now."
no.
And I can be like, "Whoa, hang on, calm down, calm down. Let's talk this out."
Well, wait a second. I think you're a bit of our grumpy old man. So I think way you're way more suitable for the bad cop type.
Well, that might be true, but for pumping up your tires this whole episode, I feel like I had to kind of get you going. I see what you're doing there. No one else can see it, but I could see it. Um, talking, he gave me a bird that wasn't a cardinal.
Oh, I do that a lot, but I'm just sitting with that finger on my nose. It wasn't even giving you the finger, but you're not going to believe that anyway. So.
Nope, nope, I won't believe it at all. I think we'll wrap this episode up here. So Corne, thanks as always. Thanks for filling half the show with your minor league report. We needed it. So
You're
well,
welcome.
I told you I was like, I don't know how long we're gonna go today. Are we gonna hit our usual 50 whatever? We're pretty damn close.
Oh,
So
it's
one less major league game, but the time for our episode length did not change one bit. So
no, because you are talking way too long about certain subjects, so it's not my fault.
no, okay, sure. If you want to believe that, that's fine. All right, that's gonna do it for this episode of the Queen's Connection. a production of Patent Sports Creative. Go follow us on social media as always, Facebook, Twitter. Just search The Queen's Connection. We should pop right up. Also go like and subscribe on YouTube. Post clips, stuff like that. Do the same thing on our Facebook page as well. So do a lot of cool stuff here. At least we think so. All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. Enjoy this weekend series against the Atlanta Braves.